guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Lauren and I like to chat beauty, and today I have a really fun tutorial for all of you beauty noobs out there. You know who you are, don't be shy, you are very welcome. I hope we will have a fun time together today. Basically, I am going to be sharing how to create a very basic but beautiful eyeshadow look using one of my favorite palettes from the drugstore. This is the Pixie and It's Judy Time, It's Eye Time palette. And I'm actually doing this video in collaboration with one of my other beauty YouTuber friends. Her name is Alexandria. Her channel is Ms Makeup Musings. And she was talking to me online. We were chatting about how it was so fun. We did a collab together a while ago, and then we saw each other at Gen Beauty, and we really wanted to come up with something fun to share on our channels. And we both are very normal working people. We both love and have so much passion for beauty, but neither of us are professional makeup artists. We just do this as a hobby because we like it a lot. And we really wanted to make something for those of you out there who maybe are just starting to get into makeup, or who have always kind of thought maybe you couldn't do makeup, or that's not for me, because you really just haven't had somebody break down the steps for you and make it accessible. So that is my goal today, is to show you that makeup is nowhere near as scary as it has to be or may appear to be, and we're going to basically use one palette to create this look, and just a few brushes and some mascara, some primer, nothing too crazy. Now Alexandria on her channel is going to be sharing 5 of her favorite drugstore palettes for beginners, one of which is this palette right here, which is why I wanted to create a tutorial for you guys with it. So definitely make sure you head over to her channel to see her recommendations. So if you're new to makeup, you can figure out which palette to pick up and what might be right for your budget. You guys should definitely leave her some love over on her channel. She is super sweet and down to earth. She has really great information, and I'm sure she will have some fantastic recommendations for you guys. So definitely, when you're done watching my tutorial, make sure you go head on over there and leave her some love. And in the meantime, I'm going to scoot you guys a little bit closer so we can recreate this eyeshadow look together. Alright, so the first thing that I'm going to want to do is to apply an eye primer to my lids before we go in with any shadows. My personal favorite one from the drugstore is the NYX HD eyeshadow base. I think this one's very comparable to the NARS. I think it's Smudge Proof Pro Prime eyeshadow base, but this is $6 and that one's 20 something. And this basically is just sort of a translucent primer that will give your eyeshadows something to adhere to so that they last longer and look brighter on the eyes. If you're relatively new to eyeshadow, this might be an extra step that you're not used to, but it definitely makes a big difference and is totally worth taking the extra 15 seconds to do. So with this primer, I just apply it from the wand, and then I'm gonna just blend it in with my fingertip. Now you want to give your primer 30 seconds to dry down a little bit. If you go in with your eyeshadow right away and the primer is still wet, the powder is going to be a little bit streaky because it's going to cling to that primer unevenly. So give it 30 seconds, let it dry down, and then I'm going to show you what we're going to do next. So this is the palette that we're going to be using today. It's the Pixie plus It's Judy Time, It's Eye Time palette. I'm so glad that Alexandria included this in her top 5 drugstore palettes for beginners, because it's honestly one of my personal favorite palettes for the everyday. I've been using this a ton ever since I got it. And while it is a little bit more expensive than some drugstore options, it's way more affordable than an Urban Decay Naked palette, and I think that it gives you really solid pigmentation and a really nice array of colors to work with. So before we get into the look we're gonna do today, I just wanna talk a little bit about basically, if you're a beginner, how you tackle what shades you're gonna use where, and kind of the breakdown of a palette, and how you can decide what's a good palette for you if you're a beginner, what do you need, what do you not need. So this palette has a mix of shimmery shades and matte shades, and a lot of times I like to use matte eyeshadows for transitioning and blending, and I like to use shimmer shades for impact and for adding sparkle and shine to the eye. So what we're going to start out with today is this nice mid-toned neutral matte eyeshadow. This one is called Good Morning in the palette, and this is going to be what we're going to call our transition color. So basically, let's talk about our eyes for a second. So when we're talking eyeshadow application, you have your lid, your crease area, which is sort of where the lid meets the brow bone, and then you have your brow bone. Then you're going to have your inner corner of your eye and your outer corner of your eye and your lower lash line. So that's basically the anatomy we're talking about when I refer to where we're going to be placing different eyeshadows. So usually I like to start with some kind of transition color in my crease. That way when we're going to put things on our lid, it has something to kind of blend into so we don't have any harsh edges. I usually like to use a matte soft shadow for that crease transition because you can always add deeper things on top and kind of build things up, but it's really hard if you start very, very dark in that area to make everything look nice and soft and blended. And honestly, the difference between those like really beautiful makeup artistry looks and something that feels more amateur is blending. It's all about the blending. So when it comes to blending out your crease transition color, you want to use a nice, big, fluffy crease brush. This one is by Royal & Langnickel. It's one of their Moda brushes. It is the BMD 430 crease brush. And these are very affordable brushes. I'm going to try to use affordable brushes in this tutorial so you guys have some not super expensive options to play with. But basically, what you want to look for is anything that has sort of longer bristles. They are round and they've got like a sort of fluffy tip. So this is going to let you blend product and kind of move it around and soften it. It's not necessarily going to pack color on. When we're blending, we want the color to kind of like smooth out and just kind of fluff into whatever area we're placing it in. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of this color. Now these shadows are a little bit stiffer. They're not super powdery, which is good in that you're not going to get a lot of fallout from the pans. You're not going to have like powder flying everywhere. So you can kind of press a little bit harder in this palette with your brush. Then once I've got my color on there, I'm going to basically sweep the brush back and forth in a windshield wiper motion. And this is gonna just let me fluff and blend that color right into that crease. Then you can always go back in, pick up more product as you need it, and then just keep building and fluffing. And when you're actually putting the brush on your eye, you don't wanna like jam it on there. You wanna just like very gently fluff it back and forth and just sort of softly apply the color there. And with this first shade, I'm not like being super precise really at all because it's very soft. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're going to be doing more and building more on top of this. So just to note, I have a lot of lid space and crease space on my eye. Different people have different shaped eyes. Their eyes are going to have different amounts of crease, amounts of lid. So ultimately, you know your face best and you want to make your makeup work for you. I basically like to think about with like a crease transition shade that I like to, when my eyes are open, see a little bit of that color peeking out. And you can actually keep your eye open when you're blending if you need to, so you can make sure the color goes exactly where you want it to. So if you need to bring it up a little bit higher so you can see it, you can keep your eye open while you're blending. Now our next step is going to be to place some color on the lid. Now I like the lid to have some impact. So rather than with the crease where we wanted everything to be very soft and blended, with the lid I want that color to be really built up and vibrant. So I'm actually going to use a totally different technique on my lid than I would on my crease. So I'm also going to use a different brush. I have basically a flat shader brush. This is the Eyeshadow BMD number 466 from Royal & Langnickel. And if you look at this brush, it is basically flat one way. So the bristles are wider one way and thinner the other way, and it's got kind of a rounded top. And this brush basically is going to let me pat color onto my lid and not necessarily blend it, because I don't want the color to be diffused. I want it to be intense. So I'm going to use a shimmery shade on the lid for this look. I think we're going to use This color that's right up here in the top, this one is called Bubbly, which is a really beautiful gold shade. Now, you could just apply this straight from the pan to your eyes, but I'm going to show you guys a little extra fun technique. So this is something called foiling your eyeshadows, and you can do this with a metallic or glittery shadow, and it's just gonna really intensify the shine. So all you need is some setting spray. This is the Pixi by Petra Makeup Fixing Mist. You could also use water, honestly, if you don't have a setting spray. I just find this gives your eyeshadow a little bit of extra hold. Well, that was really weird. Basically, the nozzle on my Pixi Mist is totally jammed and not working at all, so that's disappointing. So I'm just gonna grab my Josie and Marin Nirvana Hydrating Treatment Mist, because that's what I have in my vanity. But theoretically, you should be able to use a drugstore setting spray to do this. And we're just gonna basically spray the brush. There we go. Just get that nice and damp. Then we're gonna go into our eyeshadow here. Pick some product up on the brush, and then we're just going to pat this onto the lid. You see how nice and like intense that makes a sparkle? It's so pretty. And as you can see now with this shade, rather than the windshield wiper motion, I'm going to pat the color on and build it up because I don't want to blend it away. Now, something I like to do with my eyeshadow looks is always kind of go back and forth as I'm going between colors and re-blend things. So I'm actually going to go back in with my fluffy brush and that first shade, just picked up a little bit, and then go right back into that transition. This is going to soften out the line between that shimmery shade and the transition color. Because again, really the difference, you know, between a really nice eyeshadow look and one that looks a little less professional is that it's just not as blended. So we don't have to get like super complicated to get a really nice eye look. We just want to make sure we're blending with each and every single step. So now the next thing I want to do is add a little bit more dimension to my eyes. So right now we have some depth in the crease and we have a nice pop of shimmer on the lid, but I want to kind of make my eyes look a little bit wider and give it a little bit more of that smoky feel. We don't have to go crazy, and this is where you can kind of build things up to the level of drama that you want. So we're gonna add a darker color to the outer portion of the eye to kind of shade things and add that dimension. So we're gonna start, I think, with this shade right here. This is called Honey Bear, which is not too deep because we can always add more, but it's hard once we add too much to take it away. Now, my personal favorite brush for this kind of thing of life is my Luxie Small Tapered Blending Brush. This is a more expensive brush. Luxie is a more premium brand, but it is by far one of the best small like fluffy brushes. Like if you look at the difference between this and the Royal & Langnickel one, you can see like this is just a little bit more precise, which is why I like it for blending darker colors, because like when we did the transition color, we kind of were fluffing it everywhere, and I said, you know, you can be a little sloppy, but with dark colors, you want to have a little bit more precision. Now, you could use this same brush to do this next step. I just think that if you can get a smaller brush, it will definitely make your life a little easier. So we're just gonna pick up this color here, tap off any excess, and we're gonna start by placing the brush right at the outer edge of the eye. And I kind of like to almost like dab the color on really lightly. Like I'm barely gonna put any pressure, and then I start to fluff. So wherever you put your brush first, that's where the most color is gonna go, and that's why I start here. And then as the color kind of comes off the brush, then I'm gonna start blending towards the inner corner. So that'll get that nice gradient effect. Totally just realized this entire time I've been filming, I've had the laundry going, and I totally meant to turn the dryer off before I started filming. So I apologize if there's noise in the background of my video in the first half of this tutorial. I'm so sorry guys, I like such a space cadet today. Now, as you can see, this already adds a little bit more dimension to the look, and you could totally leave your upper lids this way, like for daytime. If you want to just oomph it up just a little notch, we can go into one of these darker shades down here. I think I'm gonna use this one in the middle called Snap. And I'm basically just going to boop my brush in here like the tiniest bit, just get a little bit of product, and I'm gonna do the same thing I just did, tap it on, buff it in just a little bit, and I'm gonna build this dark color up very gently. Now, it's always nice to mirror what you do on the top lid on the bottom lower lash line just to add some nice symmetry and balance to your eyes. So I am actually just gonna take, let's see, I have a smaller definer brush. This is another Royal & Langnickel one. I don't know if these have come out yet. These are like part of their new metals collection. But this again has a nice sort of flat edge, but it's still fluffy enough that we can blend the color out. So I'm gonna take our, what was this again? Good Morning, our first transition shade, and I'm just going to gently buff this under the eye, right along the lower lash line. Then I'm gonna do the same thing with Honey Bear, and I'm gonna concentrate this more on the outer half of the eye. I'm not gonna bring this all the way to the inner corner. And then with a smaller angled brush, I'm gonna take Snap because I want this to be very tight and close to the lashes. And I'm just going to bring this right in the outermost corner of the eye, right tight to the lash. You can also, if you want, instead of having eyeliner, basically pick up this same dark shade on an angled brush and take this right real close to your upper lashes just to add some nice definition. This is a really nice alternative to have to dealing with an extra product. So the last thing to finish off our eye look is we're going to highlight a little bit. We're gonna add just a little pop of lightness and brightness. We're gonna use this shade Snowflake up here in the top of the palette. And I think I am going to use my fluffy brush here. I'm just going to pick up some of this product, and we're gonna take this right on the brow bone to add a subtle highlight. And with our flat shader brush here, we can take this same shade and pack this on to the inner corner of the eye. All right, so to finish off this look, I'm basically just gonna curl my lashes and apply mascara. If you don't own an eyelash curler, this terrifying looking contraption is a total game changer for your lashes. When you curl your lashes and then apply mascara, they seriously look almost false, especially if you have very straight lashes like I do. Basically, the curler is just going to prop them up so they look much longer when you apply mascara to them. So if you've never used an eyelash curler before, it does look pretty crazy. I don't know if I've done this much on camera before, but I am gonna show you guys how it works. This is a Shiseido eyelash curler, a little more expensive, but this thing is like amazing. Totally worth the investment if you're looking for a really awesome eyelash curler. But basically all you're gonna do is open it up, and your lashes go in between the little rubbery bit here and the top metal band. And then you're just gonna squeeze really slowly. If you feel anything being pinched at all, just open it back up again and kind of readjust. And you wanna squeeze like 2 or 3 times down, and that will just crimp those lashes. All right, so I'm just gonna throw some mascara on. I just grabbed my IT Cosmetics Superhero Mascara because that's what I have on hand right now. And then we'll wrap things up. So here is the completed look for you guys. I will write down below in the description box all of the rest of the products that are on my face in case you are curious. But yeah, I think this is a really nice wearable eyeshadow look. You could do this for the day, you could do this for the night. And the great thing about this palette is you really have a lot of options to either keep it very simple or to amp things up. And this technique that I showed you guys, you can really do with like almost any palette that has essentially a transition color, some kind of darker liner color, a highlighting shade, and then like a pop of shimmer for the lid. If you have those 4 things in a palette, you basically can recreate this style of like eyeshadow look with a million different color possibilities. You can go wild, you can go neutral, you can go bold, you can do whatever floats your boat. If you guys found this tutorial helpful, make sure you give it a thumbs up. I always really appreciate your support. And if you're new to my face, make sure you click that subscribe button before you go if you'd like to see more of my beauty videos. I love to review products, share my favorite things, tutorials, getting ready with me, unboxings of stuff that I buy myself because I spend too much money on makeup, and other fun things. So if that sounds good to you, I would love to have you be part of our little birdie fam that we're building here on my channel. I normally post videos every Monday and Friday, but I'm actually thinking about changing that again to maybe Monday, Thursday. So let me know in the comments down below if that sounds good to you. Alright guys, well thank you so much for hanging out and playing with makeup with me. I hope you had as much fun as I did creating this look for you, and I hope you have an awesome rest of your week, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.